Let's learn how to wheel throw today. Today you're going to need a piece of clay, you're going to need some tools, a sponge, and a bucket of water. Step 1 is to lightly wet down the wheel head. So you're going to get a damp sponge, turn the wheel on the side there on that switch, and you're going to start in the center and draw a straight line out to create a suction cup. Step 2, you're going to turn the wheel off and take your clay and smack it down into the center. Then you're going to get your hands wet and get the clay wet. We want it to be slippery so that we don't accidentally tear the clay. Now it's time for step 3, which is centering. In order to center, you want to stabilize your hands, and you're gently going to press down for 5 seconds and then out at an angle for 5 seconds. So here we go, pressing down for 5 seconds. My hand gets sticky, I need more water. Then I'm going to press out and down for 5 seconds to try and push all of the clay to the center of the wheel. We want it to stop wiggling. This is honestly the hardest part of wheel throwing, so this is going to take the most time of our activity today. Notice I've changed my hand positions many times. The idea here is that you just want to push the clay to the center. In this hand position, I'm pushing inward and downward at the same time. You can also do a process that's called coning up and coning down, where you're basically compressing all of the clay together to remove the air bubbles. You'll see it here in this next little step. You'll know your clay is centered when it stops wiggling. Step 4 is called opening. So in order to open, we're going to take and place our hands on the sides of the wheel, and we're just going to use one thumb to poke it straight down into the center of the wheel until you have about a half an inch in the bottom. Then re-wet the clay as needed. Now it's time to actually start fully opening our project. So I like to take one hand to stabilize by grabbing the wrist, and then on the inside I'm just going to make a little hook with my pointer finger. I'm not pushing with my thumb, and now I'm going to pull my pointer finger outward just a little bit to open the inside up just a little bit more. I've seen artists use their thumbs trying to pull them out either direction. I wouldn't recommend it. You want to have just like one point of contact on this project. Step 5 now is to pull the walls up. So you can do it multiple ways. If you're making a mug, you want to go more up and down. If you are doing a bowl, you actually want to pull outward. So I've seen lots of artists use their hands in many different ways. I like to have an outside hand and an inside hand, which you can see here. And what I do with those two hands is that it's like smushing the wall of clay together between those two fingers. And then you're going to slowly move your hands up the side of the wall as you see here. If you try to pull too much clay at once, or you move too quickly, or you run into an air pocket, you might have this happen to you. Your clay will tear, and you might feel like you just ruined your project. So you can turn the wheel off, and here's what you can do instead. You can actually take a needle tool, and you can cut off just below where it ruptured, and it'll slowly just slice right off. Then you stop the wheel, take that extra little clay piece off, and then you can re-smooth out the remaining parts of clay that you have. This is how you can salvage a project if this happens to you. Right here, I'm going to compress the rim to try and fix that little bump that I have. Step 6 is all about shaping and trimming and adding decorative details to your project. So you can take a modeling tool that you'll see here, and you can trim out the bottom. Then what you'll need is a damp sponge, and you're going to soak up all the water on the inside and all the water on the outside of the project and the rim to make sure that it's dry. And now it's ready to take off the wheel. If you want to add a few decorative details, here's a few ideas. You can take a modeling tool and gently carve into the surface of your clay. Make sure you don't dig too deep, otherwise you could potentially cut off part of your project. You can also take a needle tool and get smaller patterns or designs, or you can move the needle tool up and down to get a creative pattern that goes all over your project.